What's a rule that was implemented somewhere that massively backfired? My company has a strict no alcohol policy. You can't begin work within 10 hours of having had a drink. So whenever there's a staff shortage and they need me to come in right away, guess who just cracked open a cold one? My work has an infraction system. If you're a minute late, that's half a point. If you're up to 4 hours late, that's half a point. So if you're going to be a minute late, you might as well be 4 hours late, because it's the same penalty. Edit. For those who keep pointing out that you would miss 4 hours of pay, I know. My work is weird and lets you fill in missing time with PTO at the end of the work week. We also don't get sick days. So you have to take PTO if you are sick, and even then you're likely to get points because you called in less than 24 hours before your shift starts. It's not an issue if you get half a point and don't get another for 6 months because the first one will have fallen off by then. English law in Wales set the death penalty for stealing a sheep. Welshmen caught stealing sheep would claim to be making love to them. They would get a lesser penalty for bestiality. The consequence of this is a Welshman gained a reputation as sheep shaggers. My institute banned porn sites in its Wi-Fi. Most people weren't tech savvy enough or bold enough to ask how to bypass it. Then the institute banned Facebook. Everyone learned using proxy in matter of days. Let's just say the servers were under heavy pressure then onwards. A famous example from Freakonomics was when a daycare started charging a small fine for parents who picked up their children late. Instead of resulting in more on-time arrivals, the new policy actually caused more late pickups. This is because the parents were originally worried that a late pickup would be a significant burden on the daycare employees, but because the fine was so small, only a few dollars, they decided that it must not be a big inconvenience for the daycare. If you have made it this far into the video, you are legally obliged to subscribe. Also, the infamous Barbados vs Grenada soccer match. The organizers of the 1994 Caribbean Tournament Cup had a rather odd change to the rules for extra time. If a game was still drawn at full time, it would go to extra time, but the first goal scored would win. This is perfectly normal. The golden goal rule. What was different is that they ruled that winning this way would count as having won by 2 goals for the purpose of tournament qualification, instead of just 1. Barbados went into a match against Grenada needing 2 goals to qualify for the main tournament. If they lost or won by only 1 goal, Grenada would qualify instead. Under the regular rule, this would mean that if the match went to extra time, there would basically be no point Barbados playing, because even if they scored, they would only win by 1 goal and not qualify. But the 2-point rule would motivate them to play on. Sound good? Well, you might be able to guess what happened. The match looked like it was about to end with Barbados 2-1 Grenada, a win for Barbados, but not the 2 goals they needed. So Barbados deliberately scored an own goal in the last few minutes of the match, making the score 2-2, hoping to trigger extra time and a chance to score the magic 2-value goal. The Grenada players quickly realized they could do the same, score an own goal to make the match 3-2 to Barbados, which would have Barbados winning by only 1 goal, so Grenada would qualify. But the Barbados players realized that too, and so they began to defend Grenada's goal. So for the last 7 minutes of the match, Grenada were trying to score a goal in either net, since scoring a goal against Barbados would give them 3-2, and they would win the match, and scoring in their own goal would make it 3-2 to Barbados, so they would lose the match, but win the qualification, and Barbados were defending both. Amazingly, Barbados did actually manage to do so, successfully defending themselves, while half of their team were defending Grenada's goal against Grenada, and then scored the golden goal in extra time and qualified. Alcohol bans at college football games has led to increased intoxication problems, because fans are loading up before going in the stadium. I worked at Mass's one Christmas, and found out the reason why you can never find anyone at the registers is because they don't allow employees to stand at the register because it's intimidating. I can't tell you how many times I gave up trying to purchase something there because I couldn't find anyone to ring me up. Last summer in Sweden, bus drivers in some counties started wearing shorts due to the heat wave. After being denied to continue doing so by management, they started wearing skirts instead. Dress code policies banned shorts, but not skirts. One of the high-rise blocks I have to maintain has a sign saying anything left here will be removed due to it being a fire risk. People just dump the shit there they don't want, like fridges and sofas, and by law we have to take it. Fuck me right. Edit. I have no authority to put up cameras as they are council blocks, and I'm a council worker that has zero help from management because quite frankly they don't give a shit because they don't have to remove it. Congrats British taxpayers, you pay me to remove pieces of shit flip-tipping daily. I'm sorry for the shitty human beings on this earth. The British government was concerned about the number of venomous cobra snakes in Delhi. The government therefore offered bounty for every dead cobra. Initially this was a successful strategy as large numbers of snakes were killed for the reward. Eventually, however, enterprising people began to breed cobras for the income. When the government became aware of this, the reward program was scrapped, causing the cobra breeders to set the now worthless snakes free. As a result, the wild cobra population further increased. The apparent solution for the problem made the situation even worse. Dry counties were meant to reduce use of alcohol in certain areas, but they result in people who want to get drunk driving further away from home to do so, increasing the odds and frequency of drunk driving accidents. Also, many attempt to rescind dry county laws end up getting countered by campaigns paid for by the bars and liquor stores that set up on the edge of dry counties, typically under the guise of religious messages. Yesterday in Kenya, our governor in Nairobi banned public transport from getting to town, so people had to walk long distances to work. And since we don't have enough pavements, people ended up walking on the roads, like 3,000, and there was a traffic jam that lasted for more than 5 hours. The next day the ban was removed, people walking on the highway. Washington state made it mandatory for schools to drop their room temperatures to save on electricity. The result, teachers brought their own heaters into their offices and use of electricity increased. Not sure if it is still the case as I graduated many years ago, but where I went to college, the hospitals had a thing where if someone came in with alcohol poisoning and they were underage, then they'd also call the cops. So of course what happened was when underage kids really should have gone to the hospital, their friends wouldn't call an ambulance because of fear the cops would punish people. Luckily, while I was there weren't many deaths due to alcohol poisoning, but there were more than 0. I worked somewhere with a clean desk policy on Friday afternoons. The common way round this was that everyone would just sweep all their paperwork into an envelope, stick it in the internal mail, and then it would arrive back on your desk on Monday morning. At one point in history, the president of Paraguay tried to eliminate racism by making it illegal to marry someone within your own ethnic group. Needless to say, this was quite racist. Head teacher at the school I worked at made it a rule that the primary age kids, 5 to 11, weren't allowed to run when they were out in the playground. That was fun to try and enforce. Air pollution became a big problem in late 80s/early 90s Athens, mostly due to the number of old heavily polluting cars on the roads. So the Greek government made a law where only cars with odd numbered final digits on their number plates, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 etc., could be driven on odd numbered days, 1st, 3rd, 5th etc., and only evenly numbered cars could drive on evenly numbered days. Sounds great, doesn't it? They'll halve the number of cars on their roads, right? Nope, they doubled it. Everyone bought one old highly polluting car that had an odd numbered plate and another with an even numbered plate. Nobody could park, and the air was worse than before. Middle school wanted to create a trash-free environment, so they removed the trash cans from the parking lots, halls, and cafeteria. Then just told the kids to toss your trash when you get home, or in a classroom. The amount of litter skyrocketed overnight after a week or so they brought back the cans. The previous school I worked at decided that all shirts needed to have the school name or emblem, which was a fancy letter E, on them to be dress code appropriate. That's all the handbook said. No clarification on how the name or emblem was designed, or the color, or if it had to be permanently affixed to the clothing. The students hated the policy and, being in high school, looked for any loophole possible. They found one due to the lack of clarity of the handbook policy. The kids would make paper E's and pin them to their shirts. Thus, they could wear whatever they wanted, and by pinning the E to the shirt, was still dress code compliant. I thought it was pretty genius. The administration did not.